It's my feel-good breakfast show.
When I was diagnosed with cancer and a stroke, I couldn't work. I wasn't expecting it to happen to me, but my illness insurance paid out a lump sum and I was able to provide for my family.
Now, when you think of suffering from something like a heart attack or cancer, there's no doubt that you picture the grave emotional and physical effects thereof. But have you ever considered the financial impact of needing to take time off from work to recover? And this morning, I welcome back Kensani Baloyi, the product expert from Old Mutual, to unpack how illness insurance is the ultimate financial life raft during the toughest of times. And it is something of critical importance that I think that a lot of us need to consider having illness insurance. But Kensani, first, let's talk about exactly what it is that one could expect not to expect when you are recovering from a serious illness. What are those unexpected costs that come about?
Thank you for having me back. Typically, when someone's diagnosed with an illness, they think about the medical costs, right?
Yeah.
Because those are the ones that we all hear about.
Exactly.
But what we often don't think about are those indirect costs that come after you have treated the medical side of things.
Yes.
If you take a stroke patient, for example, over and above the medical costs that they'll be faced with, they need to start thinking about costs such as hiring a regular caregiver.
Right.
They'll need to start thinking about costs of modifying their home or their car to make it more accessible and more comfortable for themselves.
Wow.
They also need to probably consider getting an au pair for their children because unfortunately they may not be able to do those school runs anymore. There are costs associated with physiotherapy, regular speech therapy, and so much more that is sort of indirect, but it is actually a requirement for your recovery. The cost of treating an illness really varies from illness to illness, from person to person, from family to family, but it's something that we need to consider and far beyond just the medical side of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you speak of something, let's say, like as long-term as recovery from a stroke, that can be devastating in that sense. But even in the short term, those costs can be absolutely enormous. And then that's when you would need that illness insurance in order to aid you financially in terms of your recovery. So to that extent then, when should one consider or start thinking about having illness insurance?
So when you think about illness insurance, there's actually not a better time than now because an illness can strike at any time, right? And it doesn't matter how old you are. And if we take a look at our 2021 claim statistics for illness insurance, we paid out over 800 million rand in illness insurance claims.
Wow.
And this was to people between the ages of 20, ranging all the way up to 83. So it just goes to show that the age band spans quite wide.
Yeah.
So if we look at the distribution between male and female claimants, the distribution was almost equal in terms of the amount of claims that we paid out for both sexes.
Yes.
So it just goes to show that there's no better time to consider illness insurance than now.
Yeah, while you're still healthy.
Absolutely.
Because I think we all tend to think that we're invincible until that event happens in your life and you look back at it and you think, oh my goodness, I should have covered that base or covered that base. Speaking of which, how much cover do you need and how do you know how much cover you need?
That's a good question, and the only way to answer that is by sitting with your financial advisor and doing a very thorough financial needs analysis where they will look at what your needs are, what your affordability is, and based on that, they'll be able to recommend just how much cover you need, and they'll be able to recommend how to structure your product because the thing about Old Mutual's illness insurance is that it's a very modular product. So what's great is that you can configure it to suit your exact needs and your exact budget, and your advisor can help you do that. So if anyone's watching and doesn't have access to a financial advisor, please do phone us on 0860 60 60 60 or visit our website on allmutual.co.za/illness to speak to one.
I absolutely love that because no one's life journey is exact and identical. So one that is suitable to you or a package that is suitable to you is most ideal. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to chat to you, Kensani.
You're welcome.
Well, there you have it. You can do something today that your future self will thank you for. Get the conversation started and get in contact with a financial advisor by calling 0860 60 60 60. That number is on your screen. And of course, you can also visit them online at oldmutual.co.za/illness.
Vincent was always very healthy, so it was a shock when he was diagnosed with colon cancer.
I'm a self-employed accountant, and the chemotherapy treatment made me too tired to work, at the same time as having to find extra money for unexpected costs. Then I had a stroke as well.
As a family, we would have faced years of real financial hardship if Vincent hadn't taken out illness insurance.
I wasn't expecting it to happen to me, but my insurance was a great relief.